Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video, we are going to be unboxing, assembling, and reviewing the TST R002 e-bike from TST Group LLC. The R002 is a full suspension, modern moped style e-bike that currently retails for $899 and normally allegedly sells for around $2,200. The R002 stands out as a slightly more compact moped style e-bike that still packs a punch with a powerful 1,500 watt motor. The bike is versatile with a design great for both urban environments and simple off-road adventures. In this holistic video, we will show you everything there is to know about the e-bike, from receiving the package and assembly to the performance you can expect. So jumping right into the unboxing, the O2 comes in a massive, thick cardboard box weighing in at 94 pounds. This box is noticeably smaller than other moped-style e-bike boxes in dimension and in weight, and comes with handles built in for carrying. The box is made from a very durable, stiff cardboard with staples reinforcing the edges. Though not necessary, having a second set of hands for unboxing and assembly is a huge help. The box opens from the top, which reveals the hunk of e-bike bound tightly with foam and zip ties. The packing job on this bike was super compact, with everything snugly holding itself together. There are only two items that don't come a part of the big bundle. I first removed these two, which include this medium-sized cardboard box for the accessories, and second, a saddle-style seat for the bike. The cardboard box contains all of the accessories and some key components for the bike. First, there is the user manual, which has a lot of useful information. Second, there is the charger for the bike. This charger has a smooth finish with a simple design and feels really nice. The charger charges at a rate of 3 amps, which is not the slowest, but isn't great either, giving the bike a total charge time of 4 to 5 hours. The charger uses a classic DC barrel jack and also comes with a US wall power cord. Third, TST included a plastic bag labeled spare, which contains a variety of nuts and bolts necessary to assemble the bike. The top right of the foam cutout contains the pedals to the bike, which look very typical. Towards the center lies this tubed component, which is a derailleur guard. Next, there is this black pouch, which holds a variety of tools, including the Allen keys and wrenches necessary for bike assembly. They have also included a T-tool shaped tube-like wrench, which is super handy in assembly. Lastly, there is the kickstand for the bike, which is a standard model that is seen across a lot of these moped-style e-bikes. Now, shifting back to the main unboxing, I tilted down the entire box to remove the big bike bundle, which was tricky given the weight of the bike. Everything else that remains for the bike is included in this big bundle. To conclude the unboxing, I removed the cardboard box that was zip-tied to the underside of the frame. This box contains the moped-style headlight to the bike, which is the last component loose from the frame. With the unboxing done, we are going to quickly go through the bike assembly. To skip this section of the video, check the chapters built in below. The first step of assembly was to mount the kickstand to the frame. This was done using 2 bolts that thread directly into the kickstand. The second step was to mount the front wheel of the bike so that I could stand the bike up for the rest of assembly. To do this, I first removed the axle in the front fork. Next, I removed the washers, nuts, and spacers so that I could easily slide the shaft into the wheel bearing. With the shaft mounted, I added the spacer to each side of the wheel and then lifted the front fork of the bike so that I could slide the axle into the slot on the front fork. At this point, I was also able to lower the kickstand so that the bike could hold itself upright. To secure the wheel fully, I added the flange nut with the tab locking up, the washer, and nut to each side of the shaft. For step 3 of assembly, I mounted the front fender. The front fender slides into place from the back side of the wheel and is secured into place at 3 anchor points. The first is in the middle of the fork through this slot. The remaining 2 are on the sides of the fork using these metal rods. The fourth step of assembly was to mount the handlebars to the frame of the bike. I first removed the 4 bolts from the front clamp as usual. Next, I removed this small rubber cap to access and remove this cap and bolt. This enabled me to slide off and then flip the handlebar back clamp 180 degrees. This step is crucial to allow the handlebars to mount properly. I then added the cap and bolt back in place to secure the handlebar clamp back. With the mount at the right height, I moved the bottom of the handlebars into position on the clamp and used the 4 bolts to tighten the front clamp into place. The 5th step in assembly was to mount the headlight to the bike. The headlight mounts to these 2 metal mounts at the front of the bike using 2 hex head bolts that thread directly into the light. I also made sure to tighten and align the nut and bolt clamping system that holds the headlight mounts to the frame. The 6th step in assembly was to mount the pedals to the cranks of the bike. The pedals and cranks are directional, so matching R and L labeling is important. To install the pedals, simply thread them into the cranks and tighten them down using a wrench. The 7th step in assembly was to mount the rear rack to the bike. To mount the rack, I aligned the steel tubing with the U-channels on the bike frame and then added the 4 nuts and bolts with washers. There is a little bit of play here, so ensuring the proper fit is crucial for the next step when mounting the seat. At this point, I also made sure to connect the blue signal cable from the rear light to the cable in the frame of the bike. The 8th step in assembly was to mount the seat to the frame of the bike. The seat has 6 threads that stick out of the bottom so that it can be easily fastened to the frame. I first slid the seat onto the top of the frame and made sure to carefully align the 6 bolts with the mounting holes in the frame. This step can be difficult if the alignment from rear rack mounting is off. I then used the included nuts to fully clamp the seat to the frame. Reaching and fully tightening all 6 nuts can be tricky given how cramped spacing is under the seat, so this process is pretty tedious. The final step in assembly was to connect the red headlight signal cable to the rest of the bike, and just like that, this bike was done. The full assembly of the bike took about 2 hours with filming this video at the same time, so I'd estimate that it would take slightly less normally. With the assembly complete, we are now going to take a first look at the R002 and go over all of the components used on this bike. First, let's talk about the dimensions. The R002 is smaller than most moped-style e-bikes in pretty much every way. The bike has a total length of 60.3 inches and a wheelbase of 37.5 inches, which is the shortest that I've seen for a bike of this style. The seat sits at 31.4 inches tall, and the handlebars rest at 42.8 inches with a width of 26.6 inches. The seat is a non-adjustable moped-style saddle, which makes this e-bike one size fits all. The only way to adjust effective ride height is to move along the seat length, which is on the shorter side at just 20.5 inches long. TST advertises that the bike is suitable for riders from 5'2" to 6'4", with a maximum load capacity of 450 pounds, which is pretty nuts. The overall weight of the bike is 71.9 pounds, which once again is on the lighter side for these e-bikes. The frame of the bike is made from a steel tubing with a design that really reminds me of a more modern sporty motorcycle. The frame also has this rack built into it that sticks off of the back for accessories to be mounted to. I personally love the aesthetic of these moped-style e-bikes and appreciate this one for its more modern look. The bike has full suspension with a beefy front suspension fork and a single rear shock absorber between the seat and the swing arm. To play into the moped design, there is also a retro-style headlight mounted to the front fork. The wheels on the bike feature 20-inch by 4-inch knobby tires with an aggressive wide tread for off-roading adventures and urban comfort. Both wheels also feature a fender for protection from debris. While this bike might look like a mini motorcycle, it's still an e-bike and has pedals with a 7-speed Shimano gear shifter system. For the brakes, the bike uses dual hydraulic disc brakes, which should be ideal for a bike like this and are a sign of quality over many other bikes in this price range that use mechanical cable brakes. Now shifting more over to the electronic side, the R002 utilizes a 1,500 watt hub motor located in the rear wheel. 1,500 watts peak power is on the higher end for these sub $1,000 moped style e-bikes. Next, there is the battery for the bike, which is mounted diagonally on the frame and is enclosed in this durable plastic casing. The pack is in a 13S configuration with a nominal voltage of 48 volts and a 15 amp hour capacity. This means that the bike battery comes in at 720 watt hours, which is pretty average given what this bike is. The battery is removable and mounts to the bike using a sliding rail design. To install the battery, simply align and then slide it down into place on the frame rails. Then use the included key to lock the battery to the frame for full security. The right side of the battery features the main power switch to the bike and a charge port for the battery. This design allows for the pack to be charged separately from the bike and removed during storage. The top of the battery also includes a small battery indicator light array. Shifting over to the front of the bike, on the handlebars, we have all of the bike controls. The left side of the handlebars feature 4 buttons in a square pattern. Holding the bottom right button turns the bike display on. Clicking that button with the bike fully on toggles the display between lifetime and trip odometers. Clicking the top left button increases the speed mode of the bike, while clicking the bottom left button decreases the speed mode of the bike. There are 6 speed modes ranging from 0 to 5. Double tapping the top left button turns on the right blinker, while double tapping the bottom left button turns on the left blinker, which is a really neat touch. Holding the top right button turns on the headlight for the bike. The left side of the handlebars also feature the throttle of the bike, which is unfortunately a thumb throttle. Moving over to the right side of the handlebars, there is a common e-bike gear shifter with a paddle to shift down and a button to shift up. Overall, the user interface for the bike is very simple and minimalistic. Having gone over some of the specs for the R002, the components look very typical for a moped-style e-bike in the sub $1,000 price range. What stands out to me is the compact geometry of the bike that makes it shorter and lighter than most, with the combined performance of the 1,500 watt motor. The review section of this video is split into categories detailing various important specs and aspects of this bike as we share our experience testing the R002 over the last month. These categories can be skipped to using the chapters built into this video. The first category is the top speed of the bike, and TST advertises that the R002 has a top speed of 32 miles per hour. The bike ships locked in a Class 2 mode, which caps the top speed to only 20 miles per hour. After going into the TST app and connecting to the bike, I was able to put the bike into Class 3 mode, which is the highest performance mode for the bike. Based on my speed tests in Class 3 mode, I was able to hit a top speed of 28 miles per hour using just the throttle, but only 25 miles per hour using exclusively pedal assist. The bike is easily able to get into the low to mid 20s, but takes a really long run up to reach the maximum top speed. While this bike technically maxes out at a good top speed, the difficulty in reaching above 25 miles per hour makes this bike feel slower than it actually is. I found myself often wishing I could push more speed out of the bike more easily. I spoke with TST about this, and they said that there is a way to fully unlock the bike from the factory settings to get the advertised 32 miles per hour, but doing so would technically legally push the bike beyond the Class 3 limits. Even so, I tried this out to experiment, but I still found that the top speed maxed out at 28 miles per hour, and this upgrade didn't show any signs of improved performance. In conclusion, the top speed is in line with the expectations of a Class 3 moped-style e-bike, but the required run-up to go fast was a little disappointing. The second category is the range of the bike, which is advertised as being up to 65 miles using the pedal assist. Range is subject to a variety of factors, so this is expected to fluctuate greatly depending on use case and riding style. On my range test, I was able to get 24.3 miles out of the bike. This test was done using mode 5 the entire time, while pedaling 50% of the time and using the throttle the other 50% of the time. Additionally, the rider was 150 pounds, riding in 75 Fahrenheit degree weather in moderately hilly terrain. 25-ish miles was about what I expected given the 720 watt-hour battery and my experience with similar bikes, so this was not a shock. I would consider the results from our test to be close to the worst case, so riders should expect more range using lower speed modes, especially if pedaling more often. Overall, the range was in line with what I expected for the bike given the price point and the moped style build. Third up is the hill climbing ability of the bike. TST doesn't advertise any specific rating for this bike, but we just took it around the local hills we ride regularly to see how it performed compared to other options that we've tested. The R002 proved to be decent on hills, making it up every incline we tested it on. Using just the throttle, the bike will make it up most average inclines, but begins to slow down significantly on steeper slopes. In this video here, the bike was able to make it up this 10-degree hill, cruising at roughly 7 miles per hour, which felt painfully slow. Now shifting over to the pedal assist on hills, the pedal assist on steeper hills greatly boosts performance and makes cycling uphill feel effortless. Pedaling really doesn't feel like that much extra work, but the performance boost is substantial. Now, in comparison with other moped-style options in this price range overall, the hill performance was slightly worse as the bike was noticeably slower than some others I've tested. There are definitely better options for hill climbing, but the R002 is still good enough to be in line with what I expect at a minimum, given the price. Our fourth topic is the acceleration and braking of the bike. The throttle of the bike is really user-friendly and responsive, though I personally would have preferred a twist throttle on the right handlebar to a thumb throttle on the left side. Using the throttle, the initial kick off the line is the strongest that I've tested, with the ability to almost wheelie the bike. The shorter geometry and lighter weight also play a part here, but most moped-style e-bikes in this price range don't have an initial punch like this one. After that initial boost though, the acceleration drops off a lot and feels tame, which is a little disappointing. The high-end acceleration of the bike was particularly underwhelming, as the bike really takes a while to get from 24 miles per hour to the top speed of 28 miles per hour. In total, our 0 to 28 took just under 25 seconds, which is not particularly quick. The acceleration is really characterized by that first initial punch, which makes stop and go riding feel snappy, but lacks higher speed performance. Usually, I've found that these bikes accelerate a little faster under pedaling than under pure throttle, which actually wasn't the case with this one. The entire pedaling experience was a little lackluster, to be honest, with worse acceleration and the inability to reach top speed. One thing that I did really appreciate about the pedal assist is the tuning of the controller. This e-bike actually proportionally controls the motor output to the speed of pedaling, which many cheaper moped e-bikes don't attempt to do. Furthermore, the transition from pedaling to throttling is seamless and well adjusted. These benefits may actually be a part of the reason why the pedal acceleration is tame, but I still think there's something fishy with their software limits, given that I can't reach top speed under pure pedal assist. Shifting over to the brakes, I have had a very mixed experience. The front brake cable arrived a little kinked, which took some adjustment to get working, and even then has caused some issues. The front brake sometimes loses pressure mid-deceleration, and I have to pump it to regain braking force. However, the rear brake has proved to be very reliable with the consistent and strong stopping power I expected from hydraulic brakes, so it may be that I just got unlucky with this bike. I was initially pleased to see that the bike uses dual hydraulic disc brakes, but it's difficult to give a comprehensive note given my experience. On one hand, the performance has fallen short of my expectations with the issues on arrival, but I also recognize that the bike would have likely performed well if not for this issue. Overall, my experience with both the acceleration and the brakes has left me wishing for more. They are not necessarily bad, but I've had better experiences. The fifth category is the ride feeling and comfort of the bike. This is a little bit more of a subjective topic as everyone has different riding preferences. First and foremost, this is a moped style e-bike with a non-adjustable saddle style seat. This fact means that the only way to adjust riding stance is to sit at different points on the seat. As a result, pedaling the bike is not the most ergonomic, especially for taller riders. I'm only about 6 feet tall, but you can see how suboptimal pedaling the bike can be. This bike is definitely still pedalable, but it's clearly designed more to be used with the throttle as a moped. The seat of the bike itself is pretty comfortable with plenty of sitting room and a slight curve that I far prefer to flat moped seats. The 20 by 4 inch fat tires and full suspension make for a buttery smooth ride, though the rear shock could be a little looser for more comfort as an 150-pound rider. This can make taking larger cracks and bumps a little uncomfortable at higher speeds, but the oversized tires and full suspension still allow the bike to fly through rough urban environments and take on bumpy terrain easily. In other words, the bike will have no problem, but you might feel the bumps a little bit as a lighter rider. The R002 is the most compact moped-style e-bike that I've tried, and its short geometry makes this the most fun model that I've ridden. While most similar e-bikes feel bulky and difficult to maneuver, the R002 feels much more manageable. The bike is a lot easier to carve and maneuver thanks to the shorter wheelbase and lighter build, giving a zippy, responsive feeling. The lighter weight is especially noticeable and is one of my favorite things about this model because it's just so easy, carefree, and effortless to ride. Overall, the R002's moped-style build is ideal for throttle-only riding, with tires and suspension to tackle anything, and a compact design that yields a nimble and snappy ride for a moped-style e-bike. The next category is off-roading with this bike. The R002 is built to handle rugged terrain with the hefty steel frame, extra wide 4x20 inch knobby tires, and full suspension. The aggressive tread on the tires provides great traction on grass, dirt, and gravel, and the 4-inch width prevents them from sinking in too much. The full suspension makes tackling off-road obstacles very manageable, though the shock stiffness can make bumpy terrain uncomfortable for seated riding. The nimble and compact build also makes for great maneuverability when needed on trails. I would not take the R002 for serious off-roading, but it holds its own for mild adventures. This bike is ideal for light to moderate off-roading scenarios where the landscape is still relatively compact and not too technical. The versatility of the R002 as a capable trail rider and urban explorer is one of its key advantages. Our final section is the miscellaneous topics, where we discuss all of our other observations about the bike. First, I wanted to touch on the built-in lighting system. The headlight is plenty bright to illuminate the way at night and to be seen by others. The integrated brake-responsive taillights are another nice touch that make the bike feel more refined. I also enjoy the right and left blinker feature, though I didn't find myself using it very often. Second, I wanted to dive a little deeper into the TST app, which is available for iOS and Android. Connecting the app to the bike gives access to data including battery, trip mileage, and lifetime bike mileage. The app also lets you record rides for even more information, and toggle between Class 2 and Class 3 modes to get the most out of your bike. The app can be a little buggy at times, but it's still a cool feature to get the most data and information out of the R002. After riding the R002 from TST LLC for the past few months, here are my final thoughts on this bike. At just $899, this bike offers incredible value in cost to performance. In Class 3 mode, the bike has a top speed of 28 miles per hour, a range of 25 miles at a minimum, and expected performance with the 1,500 watt peak hub motor. The stock specs are right on par with what I would expect given the current price point. This bike is also very versatile with the ability to off-road and carve the streets in comfort thanks to the full suspension and 4x20-inch wide knobby tires. My favorite part about this bike is its shorter and lighter compact moped-style form factor, which makes for a responsive and carefree throttle-based ride. If you're looking for something a little smaller that's still a moped-style bike, this is the biggest selling point of this bike to me, because you get the perks of that moped-style form factor with fewer drawbacks of the bulky and heavy build typically associated with them. With all of this being said, the R002 isn't perfect, with my biggest issues including the defective brake cable, lower top speed when pedaling, and lack of high-end acceleration. The moped-style frame is also not the best for practical pedaling purposes, but most people are probably not looking at this bike to pedal. Overall though, I've been happy and impressed by this bike and would recommend the R002 if you're looking for a smaller moped-style e-bike that still packs a good punch at an affordable price. That is all we have for this review of the TST R002. If you are interested in learning more about this product, we will have a link to it in the description below. If you have any questions or comments, let us know in the comments section, and also make sure to tell us which e-bike you would like to see reviewed next. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more like it, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more portable electric vehicle reviews. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you guys in the next video.